Paladin +8. Also, how's it going, HWM? I haven't seen you in here before. What you up to? Alright, I'm basically gonna go over this like it's a first time guide. Because we're trying to do our like a guide series on YouTube, so we'll at least get the Paladin done. Is the music too loud? I don't want to start talking and the levels be really off when I check it back later. The music's kind of loud for me, but I don't think it's loud for y'all. Alright, so let's go over this as if it's a first time guide. So we're doing Paladin, we're going to do +8 here, but essentially the same strategy will work at lower levels. Once you get level 30, you can basically have all your skills. If your town is only like the tier 3, I would max probably shield first, then sword, 1 point stunning blows after that, 1 point lay on hands, and then you can do charge and whirlwind later. As you increase your town, I'd get these flames of devotion, 1 and 2, finish out your shield, finish out your sword, then start working on probably 1 point whirlwind, and I would start working on lay on hands, get whirlwind last, get the rest of the stun, get the rest of the charge. You kind of do this as you see fit. I would say around level 20 though, you would go and attune your first item, the Ring of Transmutation, once you find that blueprint. If you don't find that blueprint, I would just pump more into the skills. Blacksmith upgrades are better for you, more useful to you than the wizard upgrades, and if you have a low level town, you can get the wizard upgrades later. Resist is the big thing there that you want, but everything from the blacksmith is really good, and obviously do your apothecary. So what we're looking at is we have all our skills, all our upgrades from blacksmith, apothecary, wizard. We'll go over the drinks, we'll go over rolling. Let me go ahead and show you all what I have attuned. We have Amulet of Kings, Armor of Kings, Amulet of Vengeance. So we have all the king stuff pretty much except for the... Oh, we did get the spell power. So we have all the kings done. We must have just finished that recently. We have Amulet of Vengeance. This is really important early on because we're going to be doing the combo build. Curious Coffer, it's just a lot of stats, but this is probably a lower priority. I would say kings first. Well, Ring of Tea first, then Amulet of Vengeance, then I would start doing the king's pieces as you need them, and then work on the Trickster set for the extra evasion. And then after that, start doing your Markhams. So, but all you really need is the ring to start off. After that, I did the white items that give evasion, because going from 6 evasion to 12 evasion is a huge boost. Like the Slippery Cloak, this is the first one I did, followed by the sandals. Just the chance to avoid damage is really great. After that, you kind of pick and choose whatever you're whatever's the weakest for you. I usually lean towards the side of defense, and there's some hybrid items like this where it gives you defense and skill damage. This gives you, just defense. But with that in mind, we're going to start rolling the shop. What we're kind of looking for is Shield Breaker as our blue item, or Amulet of Vengeance, and it's possible we take a king's item. But essentially, we want one of those 3 blue items, and then a Ring of Tea somewhere in here, Ring of Transmutation, and then we'll craft one of the other 2 blue items we want. So here we go. So really just looking here for the Ring of Tea, and then after that we'll decide if the blue item is good enough. Blue item's not good enough, but we do have the ring. So we'll just keep going. Alright, Ring of Tea, Stormcaller. It's not good enough. Ring of Tea Bloodthirst. This is iffy. If we weren't using Crimson Death, we could go this route, but we won't be going that route. So. We just use Crimson Death for all our leech, so we don't have to invest in an item. We can instead use a different item to take that place. Ring of Tea and a Duelist Edge. The only time we would probably take the Duelist Edge is if there was another Duelist piece, and we could go Ring of Tea, Duelist, craft a third Duelist, and hopefully find the fourth very early on, and that would replace the Amulet of Vengeance. But in this case, we don't have that, so we're going to keep rolling for one of the items I was talking about before. Depending on what NG you're playing at, like I said, this is kind of a guide for any levels, really. The lower NG you are, the more lenient you can be on this. The higher you are, the more money you're going to have to sink into rolling, because you'll probably get to the point where you want Ring of Tea, a blue item, and maybe a certain white item or another certain green item. And that's going to really start costing a lot of money. So we're being like semi-strict. But essentially, the Ring of Transmutation is going to fix all our mana issues for the rest of the game. So we basically bypass the resource entirely. And we'll be able to just have infinite mana. And anytime you can do that, it's usually very beneficial. There's really no other good ways to sustain your mana pool. You can get enough regen with some class levels, but it's not quite the same. It's not as budgety. Would you recommend that for NG+2 on a Warlock? I play my Warlock kind of tanky like this. I do the same, almost the same setup, at least for solo play. You can get away with going either like a crit build or going the Ring of Tea tanky build. Alright, so this is decent. The Scepter King's the skill power isn't very exciting because it's just for the Whirlwind. Ideally we would like the attack power one, and getting a shield breaker to bypass the armor would also be really good. But I don't know if I'm going to find better than this in like a reasonable amount of time. So we may just try this. Because we'll have to craft the Amulet of Vengeance with this. I like the Robe of the Archmagi. This would be a lot more appealing if it was like King's Chest. Yeah, this is a tough call. I think we'll keep rolling actually. I'm not sold on... I don't think Whirlwind damage is really going to help me much. It'll be nice, but it's not necessary. So yeah, there's the Sword of King's Ring, plus a Slippery Cloak. So this is really good for us. The Aberrations isn't anything to really like stick your nose up at either. Dealing with the Ghost in Act 3 and Act 4 is going to be really beneficial here. And a little skill damage. So just going to buy everything. About to come back with more money for keys. And we're going to make our Amulet of Vengeance. This is a must-have along with the ring. So ring, amulet, must-have. Everything else is kind of just get the best things you can. But ideally you want to find the blue item in the shop so you can craft another blue item. Otherwise we wouldn't be starting with 2 blue items and a green item. We'd be starting with 1 blue, 1 green. So that's the thought process behind it. So let's grab some keys. I feel pretty confident about this run, so we'll grab kind of on the high end. I guess it's still a little conservative in a way. Some people get like 20 plus keys, but keys are generally speaking pretty cheap compared to having to reroll the shop, having to get more ore for the anvil, more money for the fountain, more drinks. The keys are kind of the least of your worries. So drink setup, we're going the combo route. So Wicked Sickness is going to be a must here. We're basically going to rely on keeping up this 200% damage. And to help keep that up, we're going to get this Incendiary Demise. Because the Burning will proc combo the 20% chance. And it'll give you, just by using your Sword Strike, you will eventually proc combo on yourself and get the extra damage. So that's needed. Going Crimson Death, like I was talking about, we need some source of lifesteal. We passed up the Bloodthirster ring in lieu of so we could get a better item. So instead of getting the Bloodthirster ring, we instead got a Sword of Kings. Because otherwise we would just free up like another potion, and there's nothing, or another drink, and there's nothing really we need. And the Crimson Death does all damage, so damage from items, damage from Whirlwind, not just our left click. So that's 3. We're gonna go Last Stand. There's gonna be a lot of times where we're just sitting in the corner. We want to take less damage, do more damage, and the movement speed will help counteract this losing life while moving. And then the last drink is kind of up in the air. I usually don't do anything to mess with my mana. We're not scaling crit. I don't want to reduce my defenses anymore. Let's see where we're at. I'm gonna go ahead and put it on NG+8 so we can see how low my defenses get. So yeah, minus 90 armor, minus 120 resist. So we don't want to reduce that anymore. And so let's look at what we have. So attack power at the cost of defense. Vertigo, which just is like you lose control of your character in a sense. Skill power for resistance. We don't want to lose resistance, and we also don't really care about skill power. So we could take double thriller. I don't really want to take more damage. I'd rather just be slower. So this could be an option. I'd say that's one option, but I'm not going to take it in this case. Don't want to increase my skill cost. That's the same as reducing my mana in half, essentially. Don't want to do that. Crit damage on primary. We're not scaling crit on the primary. We're not scaling the crit with the skills. Same thing. Not scaling the crit. Don't care about gold here. Don't want to reduce our armor. Don't want to reduce our resist. Don't want to reduce our armor. Skill power is something we don't care as much about because it's just the whirlwind damage. Or what is this thing called? Is it whirlwind? Yeah, whirlwind. The 2 health regen isn't a big deal, but this could be an option. So that's like 2 options there. Lazy Stroll, we're never going to be caring about XP. You'll just get it naturally. Reduced damage taken is always good. So that'd be 3 options. You don't care about ore. You don't care about movement speed. We fixed the mana issue, so it's not worth 10% health for 2 mana. And then evasion for attack power. This is the only case where I would reduce my damage to get more defense, because evasion is such a good stat where you just avoid essentially 8% of the damage. It's just in kind of waves. So I kind of usually compare Millimist to Groovy Ghost. One is just kind of a flat all the time, you take less damage, and this you have 8% chance to avoid 100% of the damage. So we're going to go with the Groovy Ghost here. We'll just lose a little bit of attack power. Luckily we have this attuned Sword of Kings, so it's 80 there, so we're just reducing it to 65 essentially, and gaining 8 evasion. So that'll be our 5 drinks. We'll go over our chapel. We're basically just doing the tanking solo build. Defense, we essentially want to get to this Retribution, so the only way to get there is going Path of the Warrior, Blessing of Life, Symbol of Retribution, or Magician, Blessing of Mind, Symbol of Retribution. So with that in mind, we're taking Symbol of Retribution, so we can either get increased mana regen or increased health regen. We have all this leech, so we don't need this health regen, and mana regen is going to help us a lot more. We go from 6 mana regen to 12, so it's a big jump. Since we're leeching, we really need to be able to cast our skills to get our health instead of just having more health regen. So as we get hit, we're going to gain life with the Ring of Transmutation. As we get hit, we're going to trigger combo. So as we get hit, we get more mana. More mana gives us more skills to use. More skills to use gets us more health with the Crimson Death. More hits gives us more combo, which gives us more damage. So all that working together, we get more damage, which is more leech, and then we're converting damage taken into mana and mana into health, and we just keep repeating that cycle. The symbol retribution is important because as we go higher in the NGs and we get lower and lower armor and resistance, the damage we take alternatively gets higher and higher, and then this multiplies that damage by 250. So this is one way to actually scale damage with the enemy's damage that's scaling against you. And then just taking less damage is a better option than dealing more damage with my skills. This is actually not a terrible one. It's just not good for the Paladin in this case, because it doesn't just say your primary skills. It's oh yeah, it does actually. So yeah, it's just your skills over here, but it is a lot of damage. We just want to take less damage, so we can take less damage, make less mistakes, and that gives us more wiggle room to complete the rift, or not the rift, the NG. You don't use HP regen? I don't. I use mana regen. So going over the fountain, we're gonna go general traps. Just traps are annoying. Same with safe corridors. Topple towers, because in Act 3 there's the pulsing gargoyle looking towers that stack the orbs, and if you get close and it goes off, it's gonna one-shot you. So disable those three. We're not going expanded floors because we take Crimson Death, and we really don't want to be walking all the way around everywhere, losing all our health everywhere we try to go. Other than that, I'm gonna get Glass Walks and Treasure Hunt. We need basically as many items as we can get, and both of those gives you more items than you'd be able to get without them. Since we're not taking exceptional consumables, we're going to take lousy. We're going to get more enemies. We're not doing an ore run or a gold run, so we're just going to go ahead and get easy, basically easy favor by getting rid of the ore veins. And we'll get some mini bosses, which will give us more items, hopefully. So this is my basically standard setup. As you go higher, you'll do more on this side. Get more monoliths, get more imps, get more, anything you want. And this, you'll just pay more gold as you have the funds to do that. But this is kind of like a budget version. You can be more strict as you progress higher. So just to make sure we did everything, we did the shop, the anvil, drinks, and fountain, and we adjusted the NG. So that should be everything we need before we start.